What?
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 Oh, he's grabbing my rapier. Let it go, jackass.
Is there any practicality to a lightsaber staff?
One of the reasons why this fight is so seamless, it's not the editing.
This episode of Stuntmen React is brought to you by Raycon. Stick around to the end to see how you can get 15% off your first pair. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stuntmen React. We are joined here by Luke LaFontaine, who specializes in sword and weapon choreography for film, among other things. Luke, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My career started back in the late 80s. Was fortunate enough to work on Army of Darkness, Hook,
Oh, sick.
Beowulf. My job as a choreographer is to make sure that I choreograph the fight, make sure that it's realistic, make sure that everybody who's working on it is happy, and keeping all the actors and stunt people perfectly safe.
Luke, the last time I saw you, I was in full orc makeup in the middle of Utah.
Yeah, you were sweating in blue, man. It was good to see you too.
So guys, we got a lot of exciting clips to talk about, so let's jump right in.
Dude, young Tom Cruise.
This is a nice bit. It's a nice touch with his hands coming down the coat sleeves and his foot going back.
He's preparing, he's getting ready.
One of the reasons why this fight is so seamless, it's not the editing. This fight took months. These guys ran this whole fight over and over and over because there's so many subtle timing bits that it would have been almost impossible to accomplish this fight with less rehearsal. And it's not wholly editing, that's Tom doing it.
He's a master of dedication.
Everything that I've heard is that he is just a workhorse, he's 2,000% dedicated, and he just never stops. There are things that are incorrect in this fight. In terms of the gripping of the swords, their hands aren't quite spaced apart as much as they need to be. There are a couple of cuts where they're coming way back behind their head and then cutting forward. Where you cut from is equal to time. So all this time back here, you could be cutting me. So until my sword breaks the plane, I'm not a danger till here. But again, there are also a lot of period correct sword techniques in here. Him bracing with the back hand. That's an actual Japanese battlefield technique where when you wanted to brace the blade, you'd brace the katana on your forearm because the mune, the back edge, wasn't sharp. Tom's got his hand open and flat, which is also realistic. You know, he wouldn't be gripping the blade. Oh God, it's not something you want to do with a sharp object that's 3.5 feet long. One of the things you have to give these guys credit for is a hand-to-hand fight is a hell of a lot easier to do than a sword fight. Why? You're only responsible for the length of your arm. Try adding 3 feet. So you've got to pay attention out here where the point of the sword is. I could stop from poking you in the eye. I don't know that I can stop from poking you with a sword if I'm not used to wielding a sword.
How often do accidents happen on set? I'm not just talking like banged fingers, but like more serious accidents with sword fights.
They happen. If you get the opportunity to really train your actors, they don't. There's only one thing that you can do to injure somebody in a sword fight. If you ruin your distancing, that's how somebody gets hit with a sword. If I screw the timing up, if I'm in my correct distance, the blade will still pass through and miss you by 2 inches. But it happens, it happens.
I think gotta have you break down and just give me your impression on probably the most iconic sword fight, saber fight, if you will, in media, which is the lightsaber fight from episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
This fight is incredibly complicated, and it was choreographed by Ray Park initially with another Czechoslovakian stunt guy. And that's how Ray got the part. Ray is really giving 200% in this fight, and it's why no one else will ever be Darth Maul.
Is there any practicality to a lightsaber staff?
No.
In your opinion, no?
No. No, and I'm going to tell you why. The problem is you've now created the simplest and most complex weapon in the history of films. Did you ever notice when these guys all swing really hard and they make these power swings? The blade's made out of light. It doesn't weigh anything. Why would you have to swing it hard? The bottom line is it's a lightsaber, it's a laser, it's made out of light, it wouldn't weigh anything. You could fence these weapons. The problem with that is now you're locked into a very, very specific sword fight style that doesn't always depict drama. Initially, before all of the weird subsets, the Jedi were samurai. That's what they were meant as. The influence for Star Wars comes from Kurosawa films. It comes from Toshiro Mifune. George Lucas wanted to cast Mifune as Obi-Wan.
Wow. Oh, man.
Initially, that was
That's
his
awesome.
first choice.
Cool. Man, this is a good sword fight.
There's a lot of techniques in here. They're doing 8, 10, 12 moves at a time. There's a parry I disagree with. The behind the back parry that's sort of just nonsense. But it's okay because again, it's choreography. But if you look at the way Rey moves, look at when Rey turns his back. Rey turns his back, but Rey's got a blade moving the entire time. You've got to deal with Rey's blade before you can get a chance to cut him across the back.
So right here, there's a lot of criticism about how their swords are meeting in the space between their bodies versus like blocking the blade in front of his body. In sword fighting, are you fighting in front of yourself or are you fighting around yourself?
Both. Some martial disciplines train to meet in front of you on center line. But in combat, you'll see people parrying too soon. Certain fights got guilty of this later on in William Hobbs' career. He had to enact safety protocol. And if you look at Rob Roy, there's an instance where you can see the safety protocol in the choreography where they go to the parry first. This is a really difficult piece of choreo. And the only other problem that you see here is those were all cuts made by Tim. There's 2 thrusts, all the rest of these are cuts. A transitional rapier is not a super effective cutting weapon in terms of if Liam hadn't parried that, he would have gotten a very superficial cut on the arm or the chest. Whereas if those had all been thrusts, he would have been in a lot more trouble. Here Liam's bracing his wrist. Now, would he really do that? More than likely not, because you won't come to en garde if you don't have to.
What is en garde for those of us who don't speak French? Let me get a prop sword real quick so I can actually illustrate this better. This might be a little long, but...
That's okay. So, if we were sword fighting in chairs, I'm not in en garde right now. I'm also not in en garde right now. If you're going to come en garde in a sword fight, it's generally putting the blade in between you and your opponent. He's playing the weight of the sword a lot. The sword did weigh more than the rapier, but you'd keep that sword center guard of your body, even if you didn't have the tip up.
Is that just because it takes a lot of energy to always be holding your sword up?
Yeah, let me tell you something. When you go full out, you're tired. Every time I do this, I'm using all the muscles in my forearms and my shoulders. And it's why sword fights like this are brilliant. It depicts the drama of the reality of what a sword fight is. He was already out of position. He wasn't even in danger of being cut there. Look, he's not getting cut there. He cut 4 feet off his body.
So at what point do you balance the visual effect, the dramatic effect, to the realism that the audience can't quite pick up on, you know?
That has a lot to do with the director and the actors. If the director and the actors have fallen in love with something, there's not much you can do about it as a choreographer. Rob Roy would not be sword fighting in this manner. See that giant swipe when he stumbles forward? They're making him like a caveman here. It's not the way they fence those swords. There's a problem with this moment. Drop your sword. It's real simple. Oh, he's grabbing my rapier. Let it go, jackass. Then he's not going to cleave your entire chest open and leave a giant 11-inch gaping wound.
Could you just yank it out?
No.
No? Really?
No, it's very strange because if I grip your blade, my arm can move too. And it takes 3 or 4 yanks. And more or less, most of the time you're wearing gloves. So if you yank and I go with it, I can still hold on to your blade.
I can't believe you're not subscribed. This is like your 12th video you've been watching.
What the hell's the matter with you? Look, I've been in the film industry for over 38 years. This channel and these guys are brilliant. The creativity and the amount of work that they put in, you're never gonna go wrong watching this channel. There's always awesome content, so subscribe. Trust me, you'll be glad you did.
I thought it would be fun to smash on it. This is atrocious. Scott, as a brother, we want to make fun of you a little bit.
Hold on, mate. Members only.
You did the fight choreography for Avengement, and you actually are up for a Taurus Award?
Yeah, I was working under a stunt coordinator in England by the name of Dan Stiles. Dan had choreographed the fights.
Yes.
I was brought in to tweak and fix and change some things that Scott Adkins wanted changed and added. This fight scene, we should have had 8 or 9 days to shoot it.
Yeah.
We had 2.
Oh, shoot.
We shot this whole fight scene in 2 days.
Ooh.
These were hard rubber and balsa wood weapons. About 96% of the hits in this are all real. Scott's making contact with all these guys.
Head, dude.
We doubled Scott for one tiny thing in this entire fight because I kind of demanded it.
That slam, was that a double there, or was he still taking that slam?
No, that was Scott.
Really?
Scott took that hit.
Ooh.
That's the only spot where we doubled Scott.
The flip?
That fall over the table. Could Scott do that? Hell yeah, Scott could do that. But, you know, it's my job to make sure that Scott did this. All the really dangerous shit Scott wound up doing anyway. We just doubled him for that roll over the table. That was it.
To do this in 2 days is really insane. Do you think having the 8-9 days, what would you have changed?
I think, quite honestly, within 8 or 9 days, the fight would have actually gotten a teeny bit longer because Scott's famous for that. When Scott says something, you go with it because he knows better. But we would have taken our time. I think the fight is shot brilliantly. I think it all works great.
The end product may have been kind of the same because, like, you guys clearly knocked it out in 2 days here.
Well, I'll tell you why we knocked this out in 2 days. We knocked this out in 2 days because of Scott. Any other actor could not have done this in 2 days. They just couldn't have done it.
He just turns the energy on every time you need it?
He just turns the energy on to 200% and he just keeps going take after take after take.
You know, I'm assuming you want to avoid just slipping and getting a knife in your eye. So is it mostly Scott that's actually holding the wrist and the other guy's just basically limp?
It's a lot of what's called reverse tension. The actor with the knife is actually pulling away and the other actor is holding them there. So if the actor holding him slips, the knife goes away from you, not towards you.
But you get all the, like, the muscles.
You get all the muscle shaking and everything.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
All right, comment request time. Here's what I'm looking for from you guys. I want all of you to suggest the best vehicle stunts that you can think of. Car chases, plane chases, train chases, you name it. Leave a comment down below with your favorite vehicle-based stunt, and we're gonna take those and build a compilation for our next Stuntmen React.
I'm very proud of this fight. Now, we all worked really hard on this fight. Again, this fight should have had 3 or 4 or 5 days. This was 1 day. It wasn't even 1 full day. It was a 3/4 day that we had to do this whole fight.
That's insane.
I face you as an equal, with the exception of this blade.
I feel like that's like Jake's knife.
And that is a Cold Steel XL Espada that we dulled and made up a stunt weapon for. But you see, as a bladed weapons fight, I'm really trying to get that line where it looks like they're really trying to cut each other. These boys are really close.
Dude, that stab's so sketchy. So he was offline, right?
He was offline slightly, but this is also Scott's movement. If Scott stayed there, yeah, he might have gotten scraped. There's the catch. There's the homage that was stolen for Game of Thrones.
Dude, that camera work was solid too.
One of the things that helped with this fight scene was that we had almost 360 degrees that we could shoot.
That's nice.
In terms of what we were looking at, we could use almost all of it, but you know, we had to maintain continuity and had to stay on the right side of the line. You know, I really liked it when we went into the really wide shots. Scott was always really instrumental in terms of talking about camera. Scott is brilliant in terms of knowing how he should come across in a movie. He should direct.
I think it's just a matter of time.
It is just a matter of time before Scott will direct a whole old film, but Scott knows what works and what doesn't. These fights would not have come out this way if it wasn't for Scott. You know, when you work with the man, you see that he makes anything work. This fight's not brilliant because of me, this fight's brilliant because of Scott and Marco. Their physical performance and their acting here really tells this story. But the thing that's brilliant about these guys is they know themselves on camera. They know what works. There's a coup de grace coming up, thanks to the director, Jesse Johnson. It's not done yet.
What?
What?
What? He just cut out his liver and he's gonna feed it to him? Wow.
Watch me.
Oh, he's gonna eat it. He's not feeding it to him, he's feeding it to himself.
What?
Jesse Johnson came up with this, and it was a moment of brilliance because it shocks audiences, it stays with you.
Hey everybody, I'd like to thank Raycon for sponsoring this video. You might remember in the last sponsor segment with Raycon, I mentioned that I was sending a pair to my dad. He got back to me and he was like, Niko, I'm really enjoying these everyday E25s. In fact, here's some things I'm enjoying about them. I'm enjoying the fact that they have a seamless Bluetooth connection. I'm enjoying their sleek and stylish design. I'm enjoying their sound quality with the extra great sounding bass that they have. He also really likes the fact that you can recharge the earbuds up to 4 times within their carrying case, which is really cool. And you know, I sent him a blue pair. He didn't have any say in the matter, but if you go online and you buy yourself a pair, you can pick a bunch of different colors. So you can pick one that suits your personality. Go to buyraycon.com/corridorcrew to get 15% off of your order. These earbuds are about half the price of other top audio brands while achieving the same level of quality. It's good stuff.
So we would love for you guys to leave a comment down below of your favorite sword scene. And we're gonna bring Luke back on. Hopefully I'm saying this without asking Luke, but I'm assuming you'd be down to come back on. And we'll break it down because there are a lot of good sword fights that just need to be talked about.
Luke, that was super, super, super cool for you to share these stories. I loved having the perspective of someone who can actually speak to weapon-based fighting on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
As always, I had a great time. It's great seeing you guys, and thank you for having me. I hope, you know, I didn't bag on anybody too hard, I don't think, but I hope
it's
it was
all good
enjoyable.
fun.
And again, I had a great time. Thanks for bringing me in.
If you guys would like to check out more of Luke's work, you can head on over to his website at war-studios.com. There's a link down in the description below, as well as to a couple other things that Luke has worked on. So go check it out, send him some love. Thank you so much for being on the show. We'll see you hopefully at some point in the future.
Hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
You bet.